Thanks for tuning in to the Big Nose Podcast, a platform for me to nose into other people's business. On this podcast, I strive to share with you stories from a range of different people over various different topics. So, before my nose starts twitching any further, let's get down to business. Hello and welcome to the Big Nose Podcast. I'm joined today by Fran, and we're off-site today from my usual man cave, and we're in Luna here, out in the Malahide Road. Fran, really interested to have you here with me. I really appreciate you giving your time across to me. I suppose, in terms of getting to know you as a person, before we go further into this conversation in terms of what you do, just a little bit about yourself and who you are, and where you're from, and what you get up to.
Okay, Chris, thanks very much for having me. I'm very honoured. I was very surprised when I got the call, but I feel very privileged to be asked to appear on your podcast, so thank you very much for having me. So Fran, who is Fran? Fran is, I suppose I'm a daughter first, and then I'm also a wife, a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, a friend, and I'm so much more than that also. So, you know, what makes me tick, I suppose, is the best thing, and the thing that makes me tick and the reason we're here is I like to make a difference in people's lives. I've always mentored people for many, many years in different scenarios, and it's probably from life knowledge.
Life experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that really floats my boat. Making a difference to people every day really is what makes me tick.
And it's something that, you know, people forget about. You might be the biggest difference in someone else's life today. It's not all about what you're achieving, what you're doing. It's a hello, especially at this time when we're in COVID and you're walking down the street, and I try and say hello to everybody I meet, because you don't know who that person is, have they spoken to anybody else today. So I think it's great to have people out there. It's not just about yourself, it's about bringing people along the journey and trying to take your learnings from life and bring it along as well. When do you think you're at your best, I suppose, you know, in terms of doing that?
I try my intention every day. I wake up and I put out to the world an intention every day, and it's the same thing, and it's very funny, it's based on exactly what you just said there. So every morning I wake up and my intention is to allow me to make a difference in somebody's life, but also to allow somebody to make a difference in mine.
Yeah.
So that, you know, sometimes happens in Luna, but it doesn't always happen in Luna. It can happen out and about. I obviously do a lot of outdoor activities, so it could happen there, it could happen in the shop, it could happen just walking by somebody, having a chat and just making a difference. But that is my intention every day, and I try and fulfil that every day.
So in terms of your day, what was your typical day? I know we're here in Luna and this is a big part of what you do, but it's so much more than that. It kind of encapsulates your day-to-day routine, I presume.
Yeah, for me it's all about balance. So I do have a routine that I follow as a Reiki Master, and that's really important to me. I'm very proud to be a Reiki Master, and I'm very honoured to be a Reiki Master, because, you know, Reiki finds you, you don't find Reiki. So of all the billions of people in the world today, you know, Reiki has chosen me, and I am very honoured to be a Reiki Master. So I take my profession very seriously, and I do practice what I preach every day. So people sometimes feel, they come in and they say, oh, I'd love to live in your world, and I say, what world is that? I live in the exact same world as everybody else, but I practice so I live in a better place, a better space. So in the mornings I would get up, I give my intention out, I then sea swim every morning.
This time of year, it's bitter. I've done it once already this year.
Yeah, so that would be part of my morning ritual, and I'll explain to you why that is. People who sea swim and have, you know, found sea swimming over the COVID period, and there's an awful lot of those people, and they get out of the water and they just kind of say, I don't know what it is, it really makes me feel, I can't explain it, you know. So as a Reiki Master, for me, the elements of the earth are really, really powerful. Yeah. And that's why Luna was built, because Luna is obviously a yurt, and allows the elements of the earth to come in. So when it's windy, she dances, the canvas moves. When it's raining, you can hear it on the roof of Luna. So in the sea, by submerging yourself in the sea is one of the most powerful elements of the earth, and it has powers, and the powers are such that the salt in the water removes negativity. The movement of the water will realign your chakras. You have 7 chakras, and the water itself polishes your aura. So you've had a full cleanse. That's apart from all the physical stuff that it does for your heart, your blood, your metabolism. There's a spiritual element that happens there, and when people get out, that's why they say, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, because I think anybody that goes into it, just for myself, you go in and it takes a cleansing. For me, it's like a baptism. You always use that phrase. For me, it's a re-baptism sometimes, but it is also very cold, and it's a shock to the system. As someone who doesn't swim very strong, getting into the sea, and it's just spending that time, and I've done it during the summer a little bit more as well. It's just that time, and as you said, it's the movement of the waves, it's the salt in the water. It's something that has become, and definitely in Malahide and Portmarnock, you can see it so much more now. The beaches to be thronged in the morning time very early, and also throughout the day, but it's in the evening time as well. And it's definitely something that, probably for the better, has become more prevalent within society. We're here in Luna, and one of the reasons I reached out to you is because you're a Reiki Master. But I wouldn't have a massive knowledge, and a lot of my listeners wouldn't have necessarily a massive knowledge of what actually Reiki is. You might have heard of it before, you might be afraid it's banded about, but I suppose there's no better person to ask about Reiki than yourself. Where did Reiki begin for you? How did you get exposed to it?
Okay, my journey is very, very strange. In 2018, an event happened in my life. I was away in Madrid at the Rock and Roll Half Marathon, obviously because I run as well, and an event happened where there was a boating accident that I was involved in, and it set off a catalogue of events for me. And when that happened, things started to change in my life, and I decided that that I wasn't in a very good space, and I needed to take hold of that. I'm into meditation. I would meditate and have meditated for about 20 years, so I'm very aware of the mind and how powerful the mind is. So obviously I was aware that this event had started a process within me and my mind. So I actually went to boot camp in Marbella. It was something that I really wanted to do. I'd always visioned, working out on the beach in the sun, and it was so beautiful, and it was so different from that. It was a life-changing experience also. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but the best thing I've ever done. I met 2 wonderful people there, Jan, who would have been the owner of the boot camp, and Vanessa, who would have been the nutritionist. And they taught you to look at yourself, and they made me look at myself to the core. And what I saw wasn't very good. I thought I was fit, I thought I was healthy, I thought I lived a good, nutritious life, I thought I had control of my mind. But they exposed stuff in that kind of made me think, okay, I need to change.
It stopped you in your tracks.
So I came back, worked, like day 2 of the boot camp, was a week-long boot camp. I said to my best friend Denise, came with me, and we said, we're actually not going to make this.
Really?
Yeah. So it was that bad that you actually had to grab the sheets to turn. Every inch of your body was in pain. But as I said to you, it was the best experience of my life, and Denise's as well. We came back to change people. But when we came back, we decided, because we'd worked so hard, that we could either throw it all in and go back to where we were, and we decided that we'd learned so much that we weren't going to do that. So we decided that we were going to do something nice for ourselves once a month. And I don't know how it happened or where it came from, but I got this retreat, 1-day retreat, popped up on one of my platforms in social media, and I thought, wow, that would be lovely, 1-day retreat, that would be really nice, something, well, not boot camp wise. So myself and Denise went I had conversed with Jen, the girl that was holding it, who is now my Reiki Master, and we went. And Jen had never met me, we'd only conversed through email, and when she opened the door, she had a house that she'd converted into a retreat space, and she opened the door and she took a look at me and she said, you're a healer. And I was like,
we're not even in the door, and
yeah. So she noticed something in me that I didn't even know was there. Now part of that day, it was like vision board, it was mindfulness, it was meditation, but part of the day you got a Reiki treatment, and ear hopi is another holistic treatment. Now I had heard about Reiki, I'd say 20 years ago. I used to work for Bank of Ireland, and my bank manager there used to go up to a Reiki guru in the Wicklow Mountains, and I used to think, oh my God, she's going to be murdered up there. Like, this was
People
like so, and this was 20 years ago.
Go up the mountains, don't come back down.
Absolutely. So I was like, so that was the only time I ever heard about Reiki. I'd never thought about it, never. So anyway, as part of that day, we went and we got our Reiki treatment. And after that, I don't know what happened during the treatment. I can't explain it. But I just got this massive draw to become a Reiki Master from nowhere. There was no thought of ever becoming a Reiki Master. There was no conversations. I'd never heard about it. I'd never been to it. But I just got this draw. And, the principles of Reiki is Reiki finds you, you don't find Reiki. And Reiki found me that day. Yeah. And then my journey began. Because obviously Jen was a Reiki Master. So she held Reiki courses.
Yeah, so then you had a channel in which to pursue this kind of something that's obviously come out of the bolt from blue. Something you weren't looking for, something, as I said, that kind of found you in a way, and all of a sudden you had this contact with Jen, and now there was the opportunity to kind of divulge yourself or explore this avenue that has come up on your horizon. What is Reiki, I suppose? For a lot of people it's just a phrase, but if someone was to say to me, I want to walk away from here chatting to you today and be able to say, you know what, Reiki is this, this and this. Okay. What is it? What makes it?
Okay. So Reiki is a holistic therapy, okay, and it is energy healing between two people. So the energy is transferred from the palms of the hands of the Reiki Master to the client, okay. So people often ask me that. It's very hard to explain in words. It is an experience, it is a beautiful experience. So for me, when I'm explaining to people what Reiki is, it is an energy healing between two people, hands-on, goes down through the 7 chakras, which is your crown chakra, which is the top of your head, your third eye, which is in the middle of your 2 eyes, your throat chakra, your heart chakra, your solar plex is above the belly button, your sacral chakra is below, and your root chakra is in your legs. So it works down, so I literally go down hands-on through those. But the most easiest and the most beautiful way to describe it is a massage for the mind.
I like that.
It gives you time. So time was given to us to allow to stop and allow our mind to answer the inner questions that we have.
It's a nice way of putting it, because I think something we probably all learned over the last year is that our mind is always very busy in our day-to-day lives, and when we stop for a minute it can actually scare us what's actually going on in our mind. So a massage of the mind is probably something we all need throughout the year, not just now. And I think that's what people are exposing themselves to, is that we need to just sometimes stop and take that time, look inwards, and maybe if we are not understanding what's going on inside our body, reach out to people who do know. And I suppose that's where your service would come in terms of what you do. So you went and exposed yourself to this experience with Jen, and then obviously you explored it more. Can you explain to me how you went about exploring that and how that led on to becoming a Reiki teacher, and then obviously now a Reiki Master, if you will?
So there's 3 elements to becoming a Reiki Master. So there's Reiki 1, Reiki 2 and Reiki 3, and then there's obviously within Reiki 3 there's practitioner and teacher as well. So basically you go, it takes probably about 12 months to become a Reiki Master, yeah. So you do your Reiki 1, 2 and 3, and then you have your case studies. So your case studies are quite interesting and they can be quite challenging. So you pick 3 people that you know and 3 people that you don't know. And you have to do 4 Reiki sessions on each of those people. And the reason being that that's important. So when you've done the theory part of it, you understand how it happens, what way it happens, what way you do it. The case studies come then. And for Reiki appears in Reiki Masters in different ways. So the gift that I've been given is when I am doing a Reiki session and I put my hands on somebody, I feel their emotion. So I can tell whether they're happy, they're sad. And it's that the more you practice Reiki, the more you become to understand it. It's something that can't be taught, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely,
because it has to be practiced, because you have to feel it. It's all about feelings, because it's energy from one person to the other.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that energy. So that's where the 3 people you know and the 3 people you don't know come into it.
Right.
Because when I'm doing a person that I know, well, not so much now, but when I was training and doing my case studies, I had to feel what feelings were. But was I feeling those feelings because I knew the person and knew their circumstances, or was it an actual feeling? So then the 3 people I didn't know, so what feelings did I feel for them?
Yeah.
And were they real feelings? Of course they were, because I didn't know them, I didn't know anything about them. And it's understanding and learning to trust and believe in what you feel.
It's very must be very difficult, because it's a case of, obviously, as you've gone through this journey yourself, you've gotten to know people, and people obviously coming back to you all the time. It's a case of trying to get back to a neutral centre point maybe for yourself before you're going into the healing, so that you're not bringing what you know about them or into that healing process.
Exactly, and it's really funny, because and the people that come will tell you every time they come there's a different experience, because they're in a different place.
Yeah.
And when you're doing Reiki, you're removing energy. You're removing energy that doesn't serve a person any longer. Removing events, obviously anxiety, stress, very much prominent at the moment. So you're removing that or softening it, and you're putting beautiful new energy in. And as you're doing that, you're clearing that person, so you're balancing them. So when you clear something, new stuff appears.
Yeah, of course.
And then you start dealing with the other things. So Luna is about, Luna was built, obviously, I've worked since I was 17 years of age. First lockdown came, I wasn't working. I'd had my practice in the house, absolutely, and I just got this desire and urge to create something very special. So Luna is a yurt, and she is very special. She's been built to allow people to come here to speak their truth, in a safe environment, and to become the best version of themselves. So as part of the healing is a really special part of it, but I wouldn't say a more important part, but where the healing becomes, when the healing starts, is by people speaking their truth. So when you speak your truth, the healing begins. So when you come to Luna, there is a conversation prior to us doing the healing. So we have a conversation, I get to know you, get to understand, why are you here? What are you here for today? Do you know what I mean? It's one of the first questions I ask. What do you want from today? What would you like? And it's also about teaching people about the thought process, changing their thought process. 90% of people, their thoughts control them.
Yeah.
So in Luna, I try and teach people techniques where we start taking back control of our thoughts. And it's like, that is done with small techniques, like going to the gym, training your mind constantly with little techniques to change the thought process.
Yeah.
Look at things differently. So when we start to do that through conversation, the healing starts.
Because that's something I wanted to speak to you about, because we'll have people who are listening to us today and they're saying, okay, that sounds very interesting, but they want to know what to expect from visiting a Reiki Master, engaging with yourself. And as you said, you come in and it's all about probably processes that you go through that with that person from the initial meet and greet. Can you run through, I suppose, just for anybody listening, what to expect when you come to Luna in this place here?
Okay, so anybody who comes to Luna, I truly believe is meant to be in Luna, I live very much by my life guides who guide me through. I speak to them, talk to them every single day, and one of the most important things for Luna and me was when I created Luna, I wanted it to grow organically. I didn't want it as a business. I didn't want a roll in, roll out situation. Every hour on the hour a new person came in. That's not what Luna's about. Luna's about making a difference in people's lives. Okay, so for me, anybody who comes to Luna is meant to be here. So when they come in, obviously we have the chat if I know them or if I don't know them. So I find out a little bit about them. Do you know what I mean? What's going on in their lives? What way do they think? And some people live in the past. Some people live in the future. Very few people live in the present. So it's about me trying to get people, because that's a space of ease, what I call space of ease, okay? And as I say, it's okay not to be okay, as long as we don't live out there too long, okay? So if I could start by saying, like, depression, stress, anxiety, depression. Depression is one thought, negative thought that went unchecked, allowed another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and we end up in that. Because what we do naturally as human beings, we create films in our head.
Really?
They're never Disney films.
No.
They're always horror films. If he says that, I'm going to say that, and if she does that, and if I'm done on that, and if that happens, and oh my God, if what that. So we're playing these films constantly in our heads. Okay? So it's getting the person. So I'm finding out what films they're playing in their heads. What is causing the stress? What is causing the
trailer,
anxiety?
I suppose, and just get in there and see what it's...
Exactly. And bringing them back to understand, okay, so when you have anxiety or stress in your body, it manifests somewhere. Some of it's in the stomach, some of it can be in the chest, shoulders, jaw, and identify where does that manifest in your body. And then I identify that. So that is a trigger. That is our body telling us something. So the first thing we learn is that, everybody gets a virtual toolbox when they come here. And we put tools in it. Tools to deal with life, okay? So it is impossible for any feeling in your body, be it happy, sad, stress, anxiety, to happen without a thought first. The thought must happen. So when you get that feeling in your body, it's your body telling you you've been too long up in the head playing that film. So once you understand that, we then put a stop on that thought pattern. So it's understanding people's thought patterns first, getting to understand what's going on in their body. So when we've done that, the healing has already started. We've had a conversation. So then they go up onto the bed. I use aromatherapy oil. Again, everybody gets a guide card when they come, and it's a message. I ask the guides to send a message to that person personally for them today, and 90% of the time, 99% actually, they're always spot on. Okay.
Really?
And the aromatherapy, again, I have oils, and I literally put my hand over them and I pick one, and again. So when, like, say there's one of the ones is a woman's balance. So, when she breathes in, where does it stop? Does it go right the way through? Does it stop somewhere? And wherever it stops is where the balance is required. Could be in their throat, could be in their heart, so to say. Again, with the guys as well, the same process happens. Do you know what I mean? So everybody gets put up on the bed. Meditation music is obviously put on. There's a calling process that I do to relax the person, to open their hearts, to receive the healing which is being sent from me with pure intentions and love to them. Okay, and then obviously the healing starts. I go down through the 7 chakras. So I've done all the clearing and put new energy in. So then what I'm doing is with sound bath, with music, obviously sound bowls, Tibetan drums, water, funnels. I bring alive the chakras again, because your chakras are meant to spin. They're all different colours. So purple, then you've got indigo, then you've got blue in your throat chakra, green is your heart chakra, yellow is your solar plex, sacral chakra is orange, and your root chakra is red. And they're meant to spin in harmony. But life, puts them all off balance. So the sound bath re-energises them. and makes them. And then obviously during the healing I would have felt, sensed stuff, and when we're finished we come back and we have nearly like a debrief of what's going on. And then, depending on what that is, I'll give the person a specific thing to do, for the week. So again, I've raised the energy of that person through Reiki and through healing. So I ask them to bounce the energy between appointments. So how do they do that? They do that by doing things that make them happy. Because when you do things that make you happy, you release a happy endorphin into your body, which keeps the energy up.
Yeah.
So it's like bouncing a ball in there.
Just keeping it in the air and keep working at it. So it's not something that stays stagnant. It's not something that will just look after itself. It's something that you need to, I suppose, walking away from here, being able to engage with it and saying, yes, this is what I need to do. Fran's giving me this to work on, and I'm going to live it through the next little while until such a time as I can.
Exactly, and it depends. Like people come, like that's say a general Reiki healing, but people do come with specific things. Like like I deal with people with addictions, with alcohol, food addictions. Do you know what I mean? Massive depression. I deal with male, female, all ages, from 60 to teenagers. Do you know what I mean? And they're all different, and they all have different needs and wants. But it's all about helping them understand why they feel like that, why that's happening. Some people have specific illnesses wrong with them, so we treat them. Fertility is another thing, treating that. So it's a whole range of things for a whole range of people. Do you know what I mean? And they're all different and they're all individual. Like I've obviously have special programs that I do for people with disability, like Down syndrome, autism. There's beautiful practices that go with that. Do you know what I mean? They have different needs, but I do the same healing with them. And they go to centres and they go to schools, and they're very into meditation and mindfulness. They teach that to them, so they're very open to it. Do you know what I mean? But it's a beautiful experience for them. It's very different. They love the meditation. They love the sound baths. Do you know what I mean? It's just very different, and also gives their parents 2 hours of respite, which is amazing. So it's a beautiful marry of two things.
It works probably further beyond what's going on in here in terms of that, in terms of respite, in terms of other people having the time for themselves, and maybe parents haven't spoken to each other, maybe like 2 hours over a coffee
100%.
That they get. You get a lot of people in here, obviously, and then there's obviously people who would be, sceptical, non-believers. It must. I want to know how someone like yourself, who is obviously enthralled with it all and works with it and has come from nowhere really in terms of knowing what it was to this stage now, where it's living your life by it and through it. But you do obviously have skepticism out there, and it's a world of asking more questions and wanting answers for everything. But how do you personally deal with skepticism?
Well, the way I deal with that, I'm not here to convince people. I'm here to treat them. So, if somebody, I don't force my opinions on anybody. If anybody's interested, I will 100% talk to them. But if they're not, I accept that. That's okay. Also, it's not for everybody. Do you know what I mean? But I don't try and convince anybody. So, for me, I don't have skeptics in my life because I'd say to somebody, if they, you get hardened skeptics that are like, no way.
You get them everywhere, don't you?
Absolutely. So I don't try and convince people. What I do say to people, it's an experience.
Yeah.
It's a new experience. And for me personally, even, if I'm asked for a gift, what do I want? I will always ask my family, get me a new experience, something I haven't done before. So I would say about Reiki, if you're wondering or you're skeptical or whatever, try a new experience. You have nothing to lose.
And I presume, even if you're a non-believer coming in here, you might lie down, you might have a chat with yourself, lie down, you might more work through their chakras and what have you, and they go out the door saying that was something that completely worked for them.
100%. And some people, not everybody comes and would say it's for them.
Yeah.
The majority of people do because it's a massage for the mind.
Yeah.
Like you go and get your hair done, your nails done, you go for body massages. The mind is the most powerful organ in your body. So it's not about, the healing will happen. The more open-minded you are, the better experience you will have and the more powerful it will be. But you don't have to. Once you're open-minded, once you're here and you're open-minded, it's a massage for the mind, and it's quite beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm a giver, so I get that feeling. I love that feeling when I'm giving something to someone. Okay. So if I do something for somebody today, I do it today because it's right today.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks' time, if that person treats me poorly, I can't have any regrets, because there is no regrets, because I did it on that day. I didn't have that information present itself 2 weeks later. Do you know what I mean?
And this is something you can only deal, and this is something I've spoken about on podcasts as well. I said you can only do what you can do now, and with the information you have at hand. There's no point in where if the information changes in 2 weeks' time, then okay, you can make a different opinion, do something different.
Thank you for the lesson.
Yeah.
Thank you for the lesson. But you see, a lot of people live in the past with regrets, and they, I should have done this, I could have done that. What if I'd done that? What if
people
I
get
done
entrenched then in the position they formed to try and justify where they are, and then they're not willing to change, even though the information has changed.
Exactly.
And that's something that I've found. But it was great.
But just as one thing, just from a giver's point of view, just something a very wise person obviously told me many years ago. I am a giver, and I love giving. I love to see people. I love to make them believe in things that they thought weren't.
Yeah.
And that's just through, support and reassurance and that kind of stuff. But it's that lovely warm feeling when you get to give something to somebody and you see there's no money could pay you for that.
No.
So, but I'm not a great receiver. Just, I'm a great giver, and I get, obviously, by giving you get that beautiful, warm, fabulous experience, and it's something I've done for years, but I'm really not a great receiver. So a very wise woman a number of years ago said to me, it's great, and that feeling, and how do you feel? And I said, oh my God, money can't buy that. It's such a special thing to be able to give and see people, making people so happy. And she said, what about receiving? I said, I'm not really good at that. It makes me feel uncomfortable, and I'm like, thanks, and I'm awkward, and and she says to me, okay, so you're depriving somebody else of having that feeling by not receiving. It's not just for you.
It's interesting, Barbara.
So now what happens is I still feel a little bit awkward, but when I get that awkward feeling, I turn it and say, wow, I'm after allowing that person to have that feeling. And it just makes it a little bit easier to receive.
And that's one side of it in terms of what happens to the person that comes in here. But obviously you're seeing different people, there's different energies flowing around in here and then obviously you're here. What do you get, or how does the treatment affect you and your energies and what happens? Because it's a completely different side to it. It's grand talking about the person who's laying out here on the table, but obviously it has to have some effect on your energies and how you're working.
Okay, that's a great question. And you would think that, but Reiki is completely different for that. So when I am giving Reiki on somebody, I'm just like a vessel.
Really?
So it just literally runs through me. So I'm running energy out, I'm running energy in. So I'm actually getting a healing along with the person as well, believe it or not.
Really?
So nothing attaches to me. I actually feel invigorated at the end of the healing, rather than people think you'd be completely drained. It's the complete opposite. It's the complete opposite. All I am is a vessel.
So it's not like that scene that I imagine in, was it The Green Mile, where he sucks the flies out of, that's what the image, you know the image I'm talking about?
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're drained, but it doesn't affect you. It's a kind of a catalyst for the energy to pass through you.
100%. So it's like a double healing for people.
So obviously we're here and doing it, but Luna just, as you said, just didn't arrive here in the back garden all of a sudden. How did you get the idea of this is something that I want to actually be a practitioner and put it back out into the community? It's one thing going and doing the level 1 and 2 and doing it on a personal level, but what drove you then, I suppose, to say I want to get back into the community?
Okay, so as I said to you before, I've always mentored people through life, and Jen made me realise that I actually did have a skill that I had been healing for years through conversation. And obviously that was developed through my Reiki. I went to Italy on a very special trip with 15 other like-minded people. It was my first time to actually go away on my own, okay, which was probably quite surprising. But and I was nervous, and I actually, the first night I shouldn't be here, why am I here, what am I doing here? But I met 15 amazing, like-minded women, and I have never ever been in that setting where I was so empowered by people. I will never forget what they gave me on that trip, and we all gave each other, we were all great friends. And I already had my practice in the house, and as I said to you, like, because I worked full time, like having that space to try and create something else.
Yeah.
But even though it was in the room, it was a very special space, and people say every time I opened the door, they just got this feeling. So I said to my husband I wanted to create something special. He said, oh yeah, we'll just put a log cabin down the back. And I said, actually, no, I need the elements of the earth. I want it to be different. I want it to be really special. I knew to be honest, I manifested this into reality because I knew exactly the way I wanted it to feel, exactly the way I wanted it to look, and she has lived up to all of my expectations and so much more. But it was a build that was quite strange. Obviously I imported Luna, and I then had to get somebody to, because I wanted to heat it, I wanted electrics into it, I wanted it carpeted, so I had to get obviously the build base to be for it to stand on, get an electrician to put electrics into a yurt. And then the funniest thing was the carpet, because I had been to a number of carpet places and they were like, absolutely no way. So I got this one, I'm going to say her.Like, because they were the ones that did it. And I got it up to the guy and I bought the pictures and I said, listen, I want carpet. And he said, yeah, no problem, absolutely no problem, we can do that for you. Two guys arrived with masks, a younger guy and an older guy, and they were trotting into the house, and I went, no, it's not for here. It's there. And your man he said he was 35 years laying carpet and never been asked to put carpet in a yurt. But they were so proud. They took before, during and after pictures.
Oh, it's an incredible place because I'd never seen it, and for the listeners I will take photographs, and we'll show you what it is. But it's a huge space. First of all, it's not a pokey little place.
No.
It's not a tent. Definitely not a tent. It's a huge room, and it's lovely and warm. As you said, it's like a living thing because it's moving with the wind. You can hear the sounds from the outside. It's an incredible place. But to get something, to visualize something like this, maybe a year, 2 years ago, could you have ever imagined something like that being here?
No, absolutely not. But I put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of belief into it, and in different times, like before obviously COVID, I would hold lovely, beautiful meditation and healing circles. We do new moon and full moon meditations of the burning ceremony out there, which is a whole other entity. It's when people need to release and get rid of stuff.
The new moon tonight, isn't it?
It's the new moon tonight, a very powerful manifesting moon tonight. So yeah, all the information is up on Instagram at the moment. But yeah, so there's a lot of things that go on. There's a beautiful vision board course that goes on, which allows people to manifest things into their life, and so it's a very exciting space. Obviously the house lends to the exact environment that we're in. It allows me to practice and do that, in a very kind of beautiful space.
Yeah. One other thing I was thinking of before I came down to it, because in society as we are, we can look at one person and say, like, that person's a little bit overweight, and that person can be a little bit unfit, or a heavy smoker, or whatever. But when it comes to the mind, it's very difficult to know if someone has a healthy mind. And over the last 10 months, this has probably become more true. And do you think that's something that we need to work on as a society going forward?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the mind is so powerful, and I don't think people understand how powerful it is. But you say you can't tell if somebody has a good mind or a bad mind. Well, I can, because and obviously by saying this you'll understand and you'll be more aware of it, because it's the language people use. So I would be able to tell somebody if somebody lives in a positive space or a negative space just through their conversation that they would have with me. it's very, very evident in people's conversations. You know, it's never, you know, for a negative mind, it's always negative conversation, you know, whereas a person in a positive mindset, or even trying to be positive, the language will be different. It'll always be, well, I kind of looking at things differently, and you know, so I can actually spot where people live. Do you know what I mean? In their minds, you know.
That's a real gift, because not a lot of people can do that. I know personally myself, I would consider myself a positive person and try and pick the positives even for the worst things, I think. And that comes with experience, and you know, adding on to your own life experience as well, going through all the Reiki training and getting to where you are. It probably has, as you said, it's found the right person to latch on to, you know what I mean? Because positive energy and mindfulness is something that probably a year ago wasn't as prevalent as it is now, and I know from speaking to yourself, seeing what you've done, that's something that you're very, very passionate about, the energy levels and positive energy and the power of mindfulness.
Yeah, absolutely. It is so, so important to me, and you know, the one thing I hate to see is people suffering.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that, you know, you can change, you can become a better person, you can change your thoughts. You know, the way, yeah, you won't do it in one session, of course not, but with practice, you absolutely can live in a better space, 100%. I truly believe that, you know, and I'm blessed. Like Reiki is something, you know, we talked about Reiki 1, 2 and 3 becoming a master. Reiki is about learning every single day. And I learn, and I will be learning Reiki for the rest of my life, because it's about people's energy. So when I walk into a room, because as a Reiki Master, you're attuned 3 times. So that means that you're opened up to energy, to feelings. So when I walk into a room now, I can sense a good energy and a bad energy. Do you know what I mean? But that is a constant learning practice. And the more you practice, the more you learn.
Yeah.
You know, and like I sometimes put my hands and I feel something that I didn't feel before, and I'm like, what is that? Like, you know, that kind of way, and you know, I just sit with it and ask, and the answer comes. I know then, I'm going, okay, and then when I speak to the person after, I say, you know, how about this? How does this sit with you? What do you think? And they go, oh my God, I can't believe, yeah, that's, you know, and it wouldn't have been something, because when we talk, we're talking in the conscious mind.
Yeah.
So when they're saying, some people come in and say, I'm fine, you know, everything's fine. But when I'm going in to Reiki, I'm going into the subconscious mind. So I'm like, and I feel things, and subconsciously they might be aware, or consciously sometimes people think, oh no, I have control of that. No, that doesn't bother me anymore, I've taken control, I just park that. And then when I go in, it's blind. You know, so yeah, it is a practice that will continue.
We're in a third lockdown now. It's a lot of negative energy around the place. Someone who's listening to this podcast might not be able to get to you at the moment, might be in a situation where you are. Is there any advice you give to people listening in terms of looking after themselves, in terms at the moment, you know, just trying to get through this next week that we're going through, and okay, they might reach out to you in the future, but just for now, as they're listening, something that you've been doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, okay, so I do think, you know, there's a lot of negativity, and you know, social media is a wonderful place, but it is just full of different things, like negative things, but also a huge amount of positive things, and sometimes that can really have the adverse effect on people who are struggling, because it's all about, oh, you know, all these positive people doing positive things, and you know, if you're not in that space,
it might not positive.
Absolutely. And then what happens is they spend so much time and energy trying to be positive that it does have the adverse effects. So what I'd say is, you know, balance is really important. Okay, balance in all areas of your life. Don't be consumed with one thing. Do you know what I mean? And everything works, but it only works if you're consistent. So what I'd say, there's so many great people doing fantastic things on social media. But what I'd say is, pick one person, pick one thing, and get balance, you know. And being out in nature is so important. Being in the elements of the earth, walking in the rain is so powerful. Do you know what I mean? You know, and it doesn't have to be these massive 10Ks, 5Ks, you know, it doesn't have to be sea swimming. Walk on the beach. Do you know what I mean? But the most important thing is, when you're doing it, to be present. you know. So I often say to the girls, just randomly, I'd say, coming off the beach, I'd say, listen, what are you thinking about on the beach down there? Nothing. Because you were in the present. When you're not in the present, you're in your head. So it's about balance. So do a bit of mindfulness. Be wary of the thoughts that you're putting into your mind. Be wary of the people that you're listening to. Be wary of books you're reading. Do you know what I mean? Just try and change those things. Be thoughtful of what's going into your mind, or what's happening. What are you telling yourself in your mind? Check in with yourself. Okay, I'm going to give you a tip that I give, a virtual tip that I give to everybody. It's called kettle breaths. Okay, kettle breaths. So what I'm going to ask you to do, and anybody who's listening today, is every time you put the kettle on, I want you to take a breath and think, what am I thinking about? So by doing that, you're bringing yourself back into the present.
It's very good test, because how many cups of tea do you make a day, you know?
Correct.
And it's just those 2 minutes that the kettle's boiling.
Exactly.
I don't think that's a great piece of advice. It's something that I will definitely be doing with me when I get back, put the kettle on, and we'll just take those few minutes.
Just to think, what's happening in my mind?
Yeah.
What film am I playing?
Yeah.
Stop. And with the kettle breaths, when you take that back, the most important question that I get my clients to ask themselves 100 times a day if they have to. When you put that and you come back and you ask yourself, is everything okay right now?
Yeah.
Is everybody okay right now? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But in our heads, the story is telling a different story.
It's definitely something that we need to be more aware of. If ever there was a time, now is the time to be more aware of the present. It's been a very interesting chat with you, Fran. I've learned lots about Reiki, but if someone was listening into you and wanted to find out more about what you do, about yourself, what you do, or just Reiki in general, how could they go about that?
Okay, so I have an Instagram page, Soul to Soul, and it's soul, the soul of your heart, _ to the number 2, soul of your shoe, _ and then I have my website, Luna at Soul to Soul. Great. So
there's loads of information, guys. I follow it as well. There's little tidbits, there's little comments, there's little stuff that Fran puts up nearly every day, I think. And if you just take one thing a day, have a look at it, as she says, surround yourself with positive energy. And if you're struggling at the moment, just try and stay in the present. Don't worry about what the future's going to bring to you. Look after yourself now and let the future look after itself. Fran, thanks very much for joining me today on the Meadow podcast.
Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for asking me. I'm very honoured.